Hi, everybody. This is day 1000. Was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. He was 21 years old, just turned 21 years old, but very keen, very sharp, and was a whistleblower. And they forcibly removed him to take him to the arms room where they took his life. They took his life because he was reporting on the criminal trafficking, because he was backing up President Trump and the need for border security. And of course, that was during a election year, 2020, and they couldn't have President Trump looking good, could they? Because they wanted Beto O'Rourke to win, right? They wanted their own candidate to win. So this was very political, and what followed was just they will go to any lengths to keep that border open, and it got very violent. And they took Richard to the arms room. They took his life. They stole his body, because you have to remember that this was right after they had found Vanessa Guillen, and the same leadership over Fort Hood, where Vanessa Guillen was stationed, is the same leadership over Fort Bliss. That's General Garrett, General Michael Garrett. And of course, the IG, or the Provost Marshal, who turned into the IG, Donna Martin, that have committed the most egregious crimes against our country, against our soldiers, and the full measure of penalty needs to be put on the table when they are held accountable. And I will be wanting to be on the front seat, watching that. And that's how egregious, and anyone that knows me probably would be shocked to hear that, because that's how egregious these crimes are. What we've had to deal with for 5.5 years, day in and day out, the reading of these most atrocious, vile, vicious, egregious, violent crimes. And these people, these monsters, need to be held accountable for what they've done. And of course, they need to be held accountable for interfering in the election, for weaponizing their positions to go after President Trump, because that's exactly what they did. I know President Trump doesn't say this, but there was absolute mutiny in this area, with General Mealy, with General McConville, with General Garrett, with General Stewart, he was a major general, Sean Bernabe, Patrick Matlock. These are all generals. Clem Coward, Donna Martin, and I know I'm leaving some out. This, and of course, you have Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado and Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick. Absolutely up to no good. Up to no good. So let's see if I'm on. Looks like I'm on. Everything's okay. Thank you, Laura, for coming on and being so faithful. And we are just inundated with a lot of information, and we're going through it. What's very important today is President Claudia Sheinbaum's visit to Chihuahua, to Juarez, specifically to see Plenitude Crematorium. And of course, what our intel, and I'm sure everyone wants to hear our intel on what happened there, because it was so stealth, right? It was such a surprise. It was a pretty mysterious visit, and the governor of Chihuahua was not in country when this decision took place. From what we've from our intel, she was in Italy, and she had to rush back from Italy. Um, and she's not doing well. She's not doing well. It just came breaking news that she took loads of money from this Caesar Duarte's illegal money laundering um, fraudulent scheme that he had committed. He's in prison. His breaking news, his bail was denied. So he is stuck in prison, I think, unless he gets through the tunnel, because remember, El Chapo got through the tunnel. Um, but he is stuck in the prison for probably a year. And, while awaiting all of this, um, and Mario Campos is now on his list with Cesar Hargi, uh, and so the list just grows and grows of the fraud that is, and on top of that, Plenitude Crematorium, which is all connected, the 400 plus rotting bodies, rat infested, maggot infested, no potable water, no electricity at this place. Families given urns full of pulverized construction material in the urns while they play with the bodies of their loved ones, recycling them for humanitarian aid, declaring them, like a unidentified migrant. And, for over 400 bodies, and it's probably more than that. Okay. They're playing with us with this 383 number. And, because bones were found and they haven't really um, finished really looking at this place. Um, so the numbers are very high, and then how many were uh, in these last years actually cremated? Um, and are some of them at other areas, that they were moving them around or whatever. I mean, the investigation, not one person has been arrested, which is tells you who's involved in it, right? Arliano's, Maru Campos's mother, and many others. These are the very government officials that are supposed to be trusted by the people that have egregiously and grossly betrayed the people. And so that it's a one big, you know, she's not going to turn in herself. She's not going to turn in her mother. So, and Arlianos are in El Paso. So what it took was, her leaving the country because she sees the writing on the wall. She sees the tea leaves at the bottom of her cup and what they're saying that she's caught, right? Because she was under Maru Campos, the governor of Chihuahua. That was not the governor when Richard was taken from his barracks room and his life was taken, and then he was trafficked to Mexico. She was not the governor at the time. Um, but this has been an ongoing investigation, right? An ongoing investigation, just like Major General Curtis is, or Eisenhower, or whatever. And their obstruction counts just as much, right? Their obstruction, their interference, their non cooperative with something this big. And, it makes you wonder why America, why the UN humanitarian investigators are not there. Because any place else, they would be all over the place when you find over 400 rotting bodies, right? These violations of humanitarian rights are very, very clear here. Um, so this is being very protected. And the question is why? Why? And because America, they could send over Mario Raskin Ortiz, a medical examiner, to oversee everything because uh, from evidence that we have, it squarely indicates and appears to be that these bodies contained Americans. And so you could send over your medical examiner to oversee this, but the problem is Mario Raskin Ortiz is illegal. He's illegally in the country. He probably doesn't want to leave America because he might not be let back in. Um, he's illegally in his position. He's illegally in the country, um, and that is a whole nother video, right? That's a whole nother live stream video talking about Mario Raskin Ortiz and his crimes, his absolute crimes. And so, with all of the very violent um, connect war zone activity between Sinaloa Chapitos, Sinaloa Maisas, because the Maisas are now coming in because of what happened with El Mayo being kidnapped and drugged and everything. Um, the Maisas are El Mayo's people. They're coming in. And the people that did this to El Mayo, who the Maisas want to probably get revenge, um, because you see that they left three just recently, like a week ago, three individuals with no head, dismembered, at the foot of the Juarez sign, city sign. So the Maisas are, not really happy with what happened to El Maya. And the people involved, like Jaime Esparza, like Steven Spitzer, like Connell Wetton, and I would say the businessman owner of the plane, and more, um, they're in El Paso, and the Maisas borders don't matter to them. Okay, and you can see that the cartel, what's happened is the overrunning of the border, right? The overrunning of the border, where you have officials like Attorney General for the North Zone, um, Carlos Manuel Salas, living in El Paso, buying a house in El Paso, having a Texas driver's license, right? And then, but being the Attorney General of Chihuahua, Mexico. Um, you have Cesar Paneche, the former AG of Chihuahua, living in Texas. You have Duarte, the former governor, when Richard uh, was trafficked to uh, Mexico, and he's in jail. He's in jail, thank God. Um, but you see, but he has over a dozen houses in El Paso. Okay, so he might be in jail, but he has more than a dozen houses in El Paso. But his bail was refused, and he was, the former governor of Chihuahua. Why does he need to have over a dozen houses in El Paso? Um, so this is, really the big problem where they, just were blind to the international border, separating Mexico from the United States, and no respect for it. Matter of fact, playing it with all they had. And this is why there was so much fraud. There was so much crime that now it is roaring its head. And the only thing left to do was for Scheinbaum to come in and visit and try to square things away. I think it's just a matter of time. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's just a matter of time before Mario Campos has to resign, because now we have the receipts are all out there about all the bribes she took. And I think it's just a matter of time. And Scheinbaum is not happy with her. And is it just because, the Chihuahua is just very violent and very corrupt? Is that why Scheinbaum is not happy? I don't think so. That because Chihuahua has been corrupt for a long time, right? What is the problem is it is getting international attention, right? Especially if the UN gets involved and, write the UN, please, if you really care about the area. Sorry, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Um, but absolutely, um, there needs to be, this whole thing needs to be looked at by outside forces, or something needs to be done. And if you agree with that, then there's the real fear of Claudio Scheinbaum being revealed to you, and that is that President Trump has absolutely every right, every indication, all the hard evidence to say that Claudia Scheinbaum has lost control of Mexico. She cannot secure the border between the United States and Mexico. She cannot secure her own country. It is one big plenitude crematorium situation after another. And hell no, hell no. You know, uh, and President Trump has already indicated this, that he would absolutely go into Mexico, right, and secure Mexico. Um, so this is, really the big fear is President Trump would actually move on um, his concerns and his um, plans to move into Mexico to secure um, uh, the state or the country, and of course, by doing that, securing the United States. So this is really the big news that we're getting in, and lots to do with Dallas Hart, the prime suspect in the taking of the life of our son. Um, really is all coming um, together. Um, and we are filing, 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 filing. That's why it gets so late, because of all the paperwork and organization that it takes to do this. And you have to do it. You have to do it because, especially if you have the opportunity like we do, and the time, you have to be willing to set aside your life and dedicate it to this. Um, and in our case, it's for our grandchildren, our future, um, right? To uh, bring br- bring justice. We have to bring justice to the area and hold these people accountable. So we're working very hard to do that, and we appreciate everybody's sharing, sharing, sharing. And you can tell by the quality of our posts, what is going on. You can absolutely tell. It might be sometimes a little convoluted, but keep listening, keep listening, keep listening. keep looking carefully at all of our material that we're putting out, and you will absolutely get it. You might be disgusted because it really there's so much fraud and deception. Um, but you have to start with reality, and that means taking down the veils of the fog of the um, yeah, of the lies. And I was reading A Christmas Carol, and a verse stuck out. It said, "Darkness is cheap, and Scrooge liked it." Wow. Darkness is cheap, and Scrooge liked it. Wow. That's exactly what's going on here from the very beginning. So thank you so much, everyone. Um, this whole thing with Dallas Hart and Ray Velarde and all of those connections. We will be, please tune back in for that. That's working very hard on those connections, and that will be coming out soon. So thank you so much. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Thank you.